The UFC has announced some huge fights for UFC 287, including the main event of Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya 2, which I'm really excited about, as well as Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal, Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, Raul Rosas Jr. We already had that fight, and obviously Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font opening the card. Gotcha. Hey, I told you it was gonna open the card, bro. I'm really glad to hear. I'm really excited for that card in April. But you know me, bro. My thought immediately went to what else should the UFC announce? And these fights today that I'm giving you, these are every fight that I think the UFC should announce in the coming weeks. For after UFC 287, for 288, 289, International Fight Week. Let's start announcing some cool shit, is what I'm saying. And I think that these fights all have a decent chance of being announced. Sorry, I just stuttered. My bad, dog. But I think all these fights have a decent chance of being announced, and I really want to see them announced. So let me know down below what you think of this video. I'm going to get straight into it, alright? Starting off in the welterweight division. Sorry, middleweight division. I want to see Darren Till come back, and I think Eric Anders is probably going to get the nod. The UFC loves Eric Anders. He's not the toughest competition in the UFC as well, so I think this is a decent matchup for Darren Till. But I really want to see Darren Till get announced to come back in May or June, or maybe on International Fight Week on that McGregor card. Darren Till, Eric Anders. Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm just getting flashbacks to when Derek Brunson just destroyed. Oh, dude, that was the worst, bro. But listen, Darren Till, Eric Anders, I think that would be a really good fight in the middleweight division. I think that's a good comeback fight for Darren, and I'd be really excited to see this announced on a huge pay-per-view card coming soon. He's gonna have to come back eventually. Okay, we can't give him another year off. We can't let him He can't keep getting away with this. Okay, we can't. If you see Darren Till in Thailand, fucking tell him he's coming back against Eric Anders. Tell him, bro. I'm sick of his shit. I'm off to fucking Thailand, mate. I'm off. I'll be off then. Fuck that. Come back against Eric Anders. All right. Moving on. Now we're in the welterweight division. Sorry, I'm just really excited about this matchup. I want to see Max Griffin versus Ian Gary. I want to see Ian Gary come back soon. I wish this was on UFC 286. Maybe it will be, but I don't think it will. But I want to see Max Griffin versus Ian Gary. I think this is the perfect next step for Ian Gary. I've tossed around ideas like D-Rod or, Matt Brown, but I think this is the perfect next step for him, really logically thinking about it. And I can definitely see the UFC announcing this on a pay-per-view. Maybe UFC 288, maybe International Fight Week if he's going to wait a long time, but I really wish this was on UFC 286, to be honest, but I think this fight has a good likelihood of happening, in my opinion, and I think it makes a lot of sense. It's going to be a really exciting fight, because Max Griffin's a really good test in the welterweight division, and Ian Gary looked really, really good in his last fight. Really skillful for a welterweight, so I'm really excited to see him fight again, okay? Moving on. Number 4, now we're getting into the big dogs. These are all main events that I want to see. I want to see all of these as main events or high-profile pay-per-view fights, and I'm going to start off straight away. Curtis Blades versus Sergey Pavlovich, okay? Now, Curtis Blades is definitely going to want this matchup after what Pavlovich tweeted. If you know, you know. But listen, I think this is the perfect fight to make it heavyweight. This is probably going to happen. I can't see why this wouldn't get made. It makes perfect sense ranking-wise. And I really just want Blades to kind of shut up these Pavlovich hype train riders, you know what I mean? You know, your boy beat fucking Tai Tuivasa coming off a really bad knockout, and he came off... He beat Derek Lewis as well in Texas, you know? So let's slow down on this guy knocking out Ngannou and Jones and Cyril Gane. I just don't see it. So I want to see this fight. I think there'd be some beef in this fight as well. And that's all we're looking for in the UFC right now. We need big matchups. And I'm liking the momentum we've got. We've been announcing good fights. I've been really enjoying seeing what the UFC's been doing with their matchmaking, and I think this is the next step at heavyweight. I think this would be a really awesome matchup, and I could definitely see this being a main event or maybe being put on a pay-per-view as like a co-main event, depending on what the next card is in UFC 288. I'm feeling that Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush is probably going to be the co-main event of 288, and there's going to be a title fight on top of it, obviously. So we'll have to see how that card shakes out in May, but I would like to see this as a 5-round main event, preferably. I don't think it's going to go 5 rounds, but I think this would be an awesome announcement from the UFC as their next fight night, like a huge fight night event. So, gonna move on. Everyone kind of agrees with me on that one. We're gonna move on to now a big fight that's been rumored. Apparently, was rumored for UFC 287. I'm not sure if that's gonna be pushed back to 288. I can see it being pushed back, and then in May we get this fight, and then Charles Oliveira versus Dariush is the co-main event. I want to see it, bro. I want to see Henry Cejudo versus Aljamain Sterling, and yes, I made them smaller than everybody else on the screen. Just, for effect, I'm real, like, meticulous like that. You know, I'm a very, very skilled Photoshop user. This isn't even Photoshop. This is free. But I'm a very skilled editor. So I've decided to make these two extra small just to emphasize that this is the bantamweight division. But no, all honesty, this is a really exciting matchup. It's really intriguing to me. I think Aljamain Sterling is going to get this one done, and I can definitely see it being announced very soon. That's what I'm talking about in this whole video, though. These are fights that I think will get announced, that I want to see get announced, that I need Dana White to come out and be like, if you don't know, now you know, okay? And just slap the camera. You know, don't worry about it. Don't ask why. But yeah, I'm excited for this fight. I can definitely see this happening soon. Probably 288 on top of Dariush versus Oliveira. Get some of these fights on that card as well, maybe. I'm sure they've got plenty to do in May. Maybe Robert Whittaker will be on that card. I know he's coming back soon, and especially now that Pereira and Adesanya are booked against each other, I think that makes a lot of sense to get Whittaker on a pay-per-view soon. And then he can fight the winner of that sequel, I guess. Not a trilogy, a sequel of fights. A rematch, whatever you want to call it. It's a quadrilogy, technically. But in the UFC, it's a rematch, so I think now that that's booked, Whittaker should go on a pay-per-view card, maybe with Sterling and Cejudo, and like I said, Dariush Oliveira. So that's my thoughts. I think this would be an awesome fight to make, and I really want to see it announced very soon because I'm really looking forward to the matchup now. And because I need the clarity at bantamweight, because now we get Corey versus Cheeto, and Sean O'Malley can fight the winner of that. So the sooner that this title fight happens as well, the sooner we can get to Sean O'Malley or Corey Sandhagen or Cheeto fighting for the belt, and the sooner that happens, the more exciting this division gets. Let's just get Cejudo the fuck out of here, bro. Honestly, I don't think he's going to win the belt, so I'd like to see this fight happen soon, okay? Now we're in the big dogs, okay? These two fights, these two events, these need to be events, bro, okay? These need to be their own pay-per-views, dude. Alright, now that Jorge Masvidal and Gilbert Burns are fighting, I think there's one logical fight at welterweight that the UFC needs to pull out all the stops to make happen, okay? I don't care what you have to do, alright? First of all, let me just say, put Bilal Muhammad as the backup for UFC 286. Do it now, Dana, alright? Do it now. Alright, no. I don't, no. Masvidal is not the backup. Burns is not the backup. Bilal is the fucking backup for that title fight. And in the meantime, since it's not going to happen on UFC 286... Great card, by the way, UFC 286. Awesome card. I'm really excited. Okay, it's going to be a good fight. No, if that's not happening at UFC 286, let's make it a fight night. Let's make it a pay-per-view. Fuck it. Let's put it as a 5-round co-main event on a pay-per-view. I need Covington versus Chimaev, bruh. I need it. I need this fight, dude. I don't care what you have to do to get this fight to happen. I need this fight, and every fan needs to go on Instagram, see this fight announced on ESPN. We need to see it's official. Covington versus Chimaev. He's back. Alright, I need this fight. Do I think Chimaev's going to win in one round? Yes, but I want to see Colby Covington back. And a part of me wants to hope that he'll come back and just beat Chimaev somehow and just make everyone cry. You know what I mean? Like, a part of me is like, still believes in Covington. You know, even though I know that Chimaev would win, I still want to see it. I still want a press conference for these two. I still want a face-to-face. Go watch my last video, by the way. You know, I still want a 2008 type promo for these two with, like, you know, Nickelback over the video, you know what I mean? I want all the stops, and I want this fight announced ASAP. I don't care what you have to pay them. Make this fucking shit, dude. Let's keep this hype train rolling. We've got awesome fight announcements all the time now. Let's keep it rolling, bro. We need Covington versus Chimaev. Okay? Last one, due to recent news, due to some recent Instagram posts, I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say this is what's going to happen, or this is likely to happen, and I would love to see this announced ASAP as well. The sooner we get this announced, the sooner the UFC has clarity with International Fight Week, the sooner the UFC has clarity with their biggest pay-per-view star. I'm, of course, talking about Conor McGregor. I think the UFC is going to do Conor McGregor versus Tony Ferguson on TUF. I've reviewed the tape. I've reviewed the UFC matchmaking vaults, and I've decided this is what the UFC is probably going to do. International Fight Week, Conor versus Tony main event. They're going to stack the card. They're going to try and get Sean O'Malley on there versus Cheeto Vera. That's probably their hope. They're going to try and get Paddy Pimblett on there, Ian Gary on there. Bo Nickel probably will end up on that card. And I think they're going to do a tough season in the meantime with Conor versus Tony. Because think about this. Why would they do Chandler when he's not going to have any beef? Right? Why are they going to do Masvidal when he's booked now? They're going to do Tony Ferguson. It's basically a guaranteed win for Conor. I love Tony, but I can see the UFC feeding him to Conor. Just to guarantee him a win, then they're going to do Chandler. Then they're going to do Masvidal. You know what I mean? I can just see it happening. You know how the UFC is. They're ruthless, bro. I can definitely see them getting the last bit out of Tony with a full tough season. and then doing McGregor vs Ferguson International Fight Week, Sean O'Malley, Cheeto Vera co-main event, and I can see this announcement happening very soon of a tough season, and then UFC 290, McGregor vs Ferguson, pre-order tickets now. You know what I mean? I think all these fights have a very good chance of being announced, but let me know down below. Who do you think wins these fights? Do you think these fights are going to happen? What other fights do you think are going to be announced? What else do you want to see? You know what I mean? Obviously, I've covered Dariush Oliveira kind of in this video as well, but if you think that's going to happen as well, let me know down below. Thank you for watching, boys. Have a good week. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.